When you're selling professional services to companies, one of the biggest competitors to you is usually not someone else that's selling those services, but is internal resources at that company. They're often trying to make the decision between outsourcing something or keeping it in house. And there's a great reluctance often to outsource something. There are a number of reasons that drive that resistance to the outsourcing. The first one is doing it in-house to a lot of companies looks like it's free. That is to say that they don't have to sort of reach into a budget somewhere to pay for something. They just need to allocate someone that's on their team that's already a resource that's being paid for. So they get to direct that resource to a different task without going to someone to ask for a budget. So it's obviously not free to the company, but to that manager, often it is a free resource in a sense. So that's a difficult thing to compete against. That's one thing to be aware of as you're going in to make your sales pitch. There are a number of negatives, however, in using that internal resource. The biggest one is lack of time. It's very common for the manager of the engineer to think that they can direct that engineer to just do this extra task. But it very often is an extra task because what you're coming in there to sell to them is usually something that they don't do on a day-to-day basis, which is why they've reached out. They're looking for some expertise. And while it may be true that the person that's internal to the company could actually do some of those things, that engineer is probably occupied with a pile of work. It's very common for internal resources to be working on many, many different projects, as opposed to someone that's brought in for a specific project being targeted to just do that one project. So the lack of time that that internal resource has will definitely have an impact on getting the project done. There have been many cases where I've made a pitch to a customer, they've decided to do it internally. It might be a couple-month project, and we'll hear back from them something like a year later, and they still haven't accomplished it, and now they're finally ready to bring us on. That's the illusion that they paint for themselves of how easy it might be to get their internal resource to do that work when in fact they have no capacity to be able to do that. They've got too many other things going on. That's actually a perfect sales pitch also for us to be able to say, go do those other things that you're doing. Those are the things that only you can do. You know your business, you know all the bits that need to be done. Let us do this one piece and take that off your long to-do list. The other reason that it's great to be able to come in is to offer them expertise that they don't have. This is usually the sales pitch that we come in with. We're saying we're good at X or Y, whatever it is that we do, and that's what we're trying to sell. It's very common, however, for engineers to know lots of different things and think that, oh, how hard can it be to figure out this new technology or this new language or this other way of doing something. So that sort of hubris of being able to think that you can do everything often keeps someone from hiring an expert to actually get it done. It's fairly common for experts to come in at what seems to be a higher price point, and they see that as being high and think, well, I can just do that myself. But in fact, it may take them many times longer to do that, so the actual cost is greater than what it appears. But that again is part of the sales pitch, is the efficiency of what you bring by being an expert in the tool set that you are coming to the table with. There is a general illusion that a lot of engineering companies have that their internal engineer, they've got some hotshot on their team or whatever, and that's this universal unicorn that can be all things, can do all things. So whatever you're coming in with expertise, this internal resource can do that, and he can do this, and he can do that, and he can do the other thing. But it's an illusion because, well, that person might be able to accomplish those things. He won't necessarily be an expert at those things, and he will not have time to do all of those things. Even if you have a unicorn has 24 hours in a day. And I don't know, do unicorns need to sleep? I'm not sure, but engineering unicorns definitely need to sleep. So you can't have them do their regular job and this other thing on top of that and expect to be able to get it done. Those are some of the interesting challenges, and as much as you can have answers ready for those, you'll be ready to help push your project forward with a company that's got some resistance to outside contracting.